Hey, what's up, all you 40K fanatics out there?
It's Casey and Shane.
Back
with you again. Back with you again.
So, Shane.
Yes, sir.
You ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's open that bits box.
Open it! This week, I finished the league. And
of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
No, we were doing a league of 40K, 2K games in the local area, and I got all 6 of my rounds in finally. And I don't want to alarm anybody, but some of you that don't have all your games in are really going to have to practice and study hard to catch me, because your boy, 1 win, 5 losses. I fumbled the joke. Did you hear me fumble the joke? As he stands up away from the microphone.
Yes, here, have this.
What is this?
That's white sage. Go ahead and just put that all over yourself.
I'm not gonna do that.
Just light the end.
I found man. You know what? You call me the game master, and it is in name alone, because
I think somehow the universe swapped our luck. Okay, as soon as I stopped having a losing streak, it seems like you started.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a couple wins in a row in some casual games, but in the league I got. And look, you jokingly call me the game master. I don't call me the game master. All I do is have a handle on the rules. Out of the 2 of us, one of us has to know when to roll what.
Which makes you the games master.
Which makes me the games master.
Man, if you've forgotten more stuff than I remember.
But so the thing is, my army is made out of stuff that I think is neat.
Oh, and you went for fun?
Yeah. My 2K list is made out of things that I think are neat.
Instead of meta chasing.
Yeah. And it doesn't take very much, let's call synergistic list building acumen to really mess up everything I've got going on. Now, I think when the Codex comes out for the Chaos Space Marines, I'm going to have a lot better time, because the way that it's looking is in 10th edition, they're doing the Codex in like here's a detachment rule to fit the kind of stuff you want to do. And so being that I like to run a lot of characters, and I kind of leaning into running quite a bit of combat focused
You're a Hero Hammer
stuff.
player,
Yeah. I imagine there will be a detachment that's going to help the survivability of my troops, so that I can deliver them into the fray of glorious combat.
Yeah, and it seems like that's the way that most people play 10th nowadays. They either run a lot of tanks, which I think everybody thought that it was going to be, or they run a lot of units of troops or elites, and then spread out and get that board control.
Well, I think that there are a lot of little hidden gems of elites in a lot of armies. You know, your Wraith Guard, I think they're called in Aldari. Your what are they called in the Necrons? The dudes with the shields, those are what we used to call elite units.
Lich Guard?
Yes, and there are just little spots, and I imagine these are going to get polished by points wise, and as codexes come out. Those are going to kind of get polished out. But right now, there's little spiky bits where a unit is really, really good for no good reason. Other
than it's really cool.
Yeah, and it's really good, and it's really cheap. And so, that sort of thing can really catch you out if you're not ready for it.
I can totally relate to the way you did that, because I did the same thing with my Orc army. I bought what I thought was fun, and all through 9th, I got my teeth kicked in.
Yeah, and in 9th, because I was just getting into the hobby toward the end of 9th, I played a lot more 1K games, and the rule of cool tends to function a little better in 1K, I think.
Yes.
Also, continuing my bits box, I lost to the homie Lane in round 6 against his
tell us about that.
Adepta Soritos.
Ooh, how do those miracle dice taste?
They were not the deciding factor. I tell you what messed me up was the what are they called? The arcoflagellants.
Ooh, yeah.
They're these little. They look like cultists.
Dude, sisters have some dope models.
They feel like cultists. They're in a blob of 10 like cultists.
Yeah.
And then I found out that block of 10 does something like 60 attacks, and they're +1 to wound, and they've all got 2 wounds instead of 1, and their toughness 5, but they have a 7-up save. So you think, well, then anything you hit them with, they die. No. They have a 4-up feel no pain, which is as good as having a save. So I spent the entire match thinking, well, I'll do a little bit of shooting into these guys and wipe them out, just thinking that they're cultists. Even after I heard, like, the line on the data card, it just did not make sense to me that, like, one entire Forge Fiend shooting round would not wipe them out, because it didn't. And at the very, very end, 1 still remained despite everything. Like, it was worth charging Abaddon into them, and I did not realize that fact until it was too late.
Oh, no. Yes, lore-wise, they are, you know what a servitor is, basically.
Yeah.
So they take somebody who, maybe an Astra Militarum colonel in the last book that I read in Martyr's Tomb, they took an Astra Militarum colonel. He had retreated, ditched, said, oh, dang, chaos coming, I'm leaving. And he survived off rats and roaches. They found him, and they were like, you're going to serve the Emperor one last time. Turned him into a servitor, make it an arco-flagellant, where they turned off all his pain receptors, gave him some pretty dank melee weapons, and just threw him at some death guard. And that is what an arco-flagellant is.
Yeah, and they're ridiculous. It was...
they are dope models.
Let me tell you, the homie Lane was like, yeah, that's the first time I've taken 10, because apparently you can take him in a unit of 3 or 10.
That's weird.
And I could see 3 being a reasonable beat stick, but 10 is just an absolute...
overkill?
It's a mess, man. I mean, it messed me up.
Man, I kind of want to fight him now.
I could see somebody taking...
20 orcs versus 10 of these. What do you think?
If they come on the charge, then the orcs die.
Ooh.
Because it's so many attacks. It's something like, I want to say 6 attacks each.
Oh,
it's ridiculous.
Gosh.
And +1 to wound.
Man.
It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. I couldn't believe it. And they just hung around because you can't get rid of them with that Feel No Pain. Man. And
yeah, Feel No Pains are tough this
and then their toughness is not 3, and it seems like it should be 3, but it isn't. So that was the thing. I also bought, built, and painted since the last time we talked. I think maybe I mentioned it. I might have bought it last week.
What?
The Defiler.
Yes, we did talk about that last time.
So,
your Crab Man, your can opener.
Yes, my Wild Wild West spider tank. And I got my Dirty Down Rust in. It was interesting to work with.
Really?
It has some fumes to it.
Yeah.
Even though it says it's an acrylic product of some kind, but
you got some pictures for us?
You get a little high. I do need to take some pictures. I've not taken any. I've been slacking on my picture taking during my games, and I need to stop that because we got to feed the content machine, don't we?
Yes, we do. And I've fought a lot of gray lately, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
A lot of gray plastic.
Yeah, it
not as cool looking.
Yeah, you can get that where you fight some gray stuff, and it's like, come on, man, help me out here.
Yeah.
No hate to our opponents with the gray stuff, but
yeah, you're doing fine.
Y'all got to get your weight up.
But you're not going to be on our Twitter. What else? What else is in your bid box?
Well, so I want to talk about the Defiler. He's really cool. He looks great. The Dirty Down was neat. You put it on, and it's kind of brown, but it's very easily reactivated. So you can go back, and I used a big old brush. You go back with some water, and you can sort of like stipple the edges of it.
Really?
So you can take that. Like, it's very easy. It applies kind of like a wash. It's real thin. And when you get it on... So the Defiler has got these 6 legs. And in the kit, you build the 6 legs, and then they're on balls. Like, at the end of them, they terminate in a ball, and then there's a little socket. And the socket just hardly actually holds the ball at all. So you position it, right? And then you glue it, and that's how you get your leg position. But then... when you go to paint it, you've got like all these spherical shapes around the bottom of the leg. And I found that with the Dirty Down Rust, because I wanted the whole undercarriage to be rusty, you could get a hard line.
Yeah.
However, I'm like, I've rusted the whole thing, so no telling how long it's been since I was over to this front side on the first ball, and I took took straight water, stipple, it thinned right down and disappeared and sort of made just a seamless fade around the edge. And so it's a 10 out of 10. It's as good as everyone says that it is. And I imagine
it's a really popular technical paint out there. I see it like every day pretty much now.
Yeah, it's people call it like liquid talent, and it absolutely is. I tell you what else, too. The Defiler cannon that comes out of his chest, it's got a barrel, and it's got some gold trim on it, so I had the gold trim. But then I had planned on, I wanted that barrel to look just absolutely rusted out, so I had done a brown copper color.
Yeah.
All right? And I put the dirty down over that real thick.
Looks
and
good.
It absolutely looks like it's set in a salt bath.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what this thing looks like, check out Toy Story 1 and that baby crab thing from Toy Story 1. That is exactly what Shane's talking about.
Yeah, from the Abused Toys. Or check out the 40K.
Or check out the 40K Game Store, whatever you do.
40K on Fanatics on X.
Yeah, on X.
Where I will remember this evening to take a picture.
Yeah.
For the people to see. It was neat too because he had this tank with a stained glass mirror on it, right?
Yeah. Oh, the Soritos.
Yeah. And he was like, it's got a bunch of Meltas on it. I'm like, okay. So I ran the Defiler up there.
Thought you were going to take it down.
Hit it. And tank shocked it because you get to roll 18 dice on a tank shock with this thing because of this big claw.
No.
Yeah. You're
done.
Listen, kids. If you want to save time, just say, and I do 6 mortal wounds. Because out of 18, you're gonna.
Yeah.
Anyway. And then I hit it with the claw and I built mine with the Scourge because that's cool.
Did you auto-delete it?
Yeah, auto-delete, man. Just over with. Gosh. It's D6 plus 3 damage with the claw. Like, the claw is just going to mess some stuff up. And then he had 4 little girls with multi-meltas, and they turned their multi-meltas upon it, and they blew it away.
Oh, man.
And we were both quite shocked at that.
So you smashed him, he smashed you right back.
Yeah, and you know, those girls with the multi-meltas didn't do anything for the rest of the game.
Oh, no.
And but man, they did their job on my Defiler, and you know, between that and underestimating the Arco-Flagellants, that was probably the
nail in the coffin.
Yeah, that was it for you, boy.
Okay.
But that's my bits box.
That's your bit
what
box?
did you do?
My bit box. I finished up some Imperial Fists. Go check them out on the Twitter, guys. A bunch of Furnace Marines I've been doing on my commission. I also played a game against some Astra Militarum. Really one-sided game because Astra Militarum are the bane of my gaming existence.
Well, you know, talking about rule of cool, and
I brought that Stompa, baby.
You brought the Stompa, and it was deeply disappointing.
Yeah, there was too much of a busy board. I couldn't get through it, and with them changing that new, what is it, towering?
Yeah, the towering.
The towering keyword to where you can't shoot through buildings, I was kind of restricted. He was able to creep that Bane Blade around certain corners and then, you know, say, I shoot this, which, you know, and I don't care. It's not a big deal. I still had fun. Honestly, I've done better in that game than I have against Astra Militarum the entire time because usually they auto-delete me turn 2 because of all the Basilisk Fire and the Lehman Russ shots and the Punisher shots and the Bane Blade. Just it wipes me out. This time, I actually lasted 5 turns. But that's because it's hard to take down a Stompa.
Yeah, and you know,
I got like 29, I think.
Yeah, in the league, they let us move the terrain beforehand, and you probably should have been like, hey, let's make room for our Bane Blades / Stompas in this terrain board.
Well, with the league, we also get the maps chosen for us. So I, you know, just chose the right map and put everything out and had the homie Dallas check it. And I was like, you know what? It's fair. It's not my party, not my rules. I play by them.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the homie Austin couldn't move his Baneblade through the terrain either, so
yeah,
I guess
2 Titanic models couldn't do nothing.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. I saw some guys went and played a tournament over in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah,
and,
hats off to them. That sounded like fun.
It looked like it. I hear there was that guy over there. Which
guy?
Oh man, there was one of
I
those guys.
Heard about
there.
an orc player.
Oh, I don't know. Who
calling the
who
law
won.
every game as loud as he could.
Oh yeah, I mean that's kind of fun.
My boy.
I like that. There was somebody being real cheesy.
What you mean?
Like playing dirty cheesy.
Oh,
like let's make an agreement about the positioning of something, and then become his turn. Him be like,
oh, I forgot.
Nope, you're out of luck.
Oh no. Oh,
that make me want to.
Rough.
Make me want to throw down in a parking lot. Somebody said he was a big guy. I'm like, I don't care.
Let's see. That's pretty much all about my bits box. I had a good game. I've been pretty busy this week. We've posted quite a few things. Our Siege of Terra video is going nuts on YouTube, and I've posted an Imperial Fists episode. Go check that out. We had a guest voice actor for that video. Cody Hall from our local community voiced an Imperial Fist in the quote that I put at the beginning of those lore videos.
Neat.
Yeah. So that's about all for my bits box. You want to shut it?
I think we can shut it.
Okay.
On to the main topic.
What is the main topic, Shane? Hit 'em.
Well, it's a painting pod, and I hope that we've come up with some sort of clickbaity way to get you under the tent.
Get you hooked.
Yeah, because in my initial considerations of this topic, it was like, stop using Citadel, or it was going to be like Citadel color names are dumb, or something like that. Maybe that's what we'll call it.
Citadel critiques.
Citadel paint names are dumb. That'll get people up in arms.
Yeah, somebody will always, if it's a gripe about Games Workshop, then people are always on board.
Well, they're either on board or they're not, right?
Fair.
But I think that that could get them in to hear me posit this theory.
Poser.
Which is that I don't think most painting tutorials are any good.
How so?
And I question the veracity of the method therein. So
you do it then.
Here's what I don't like. It grinds. In this episode,
you think you can do better?
in this episode of what grinds Shane's gears.
Oh boy,
is I don't like a painting tutorial that is like, we're going to base coat the model in name color X, and then we're going to apply color Y, and they're just naming these colors, and usually they're Citadel colors, and the names are ridiculous. Okay. And then they go and they apply these colors with no greater context than the name of the color and where it's going on the model. And I have a problem with that.
Oh, you mean they don't go into the detail of like two thin coats? Or
I mean, maybe
like
they say
the whole process.
Maybe they say two thin coats or whatever.
Yeah, but they don't show it.
Yes, and it creates. Well, I don't feel like they teach anything.
They just show the.
They just show a thing, and they name colors, and so it creates this idea in a new painter that to paint a Space Marine, for instance, to paint those Imperial Fists that you're doing, to make them the various yellows that they would be on the box art, that you would go to the Games Workshop website and buy like all 5 or 10 of those colors that it has listed, and that's not a good way to do it. So why is it not a good way to do it?
Why isn't it, Shane? The world wants to know.
Yeah. On one hand, it's like they want to standardize these paint colors, where you go and buy Imperial Fist Yellow, and that gives you the Imperial Fist Yellow on the box.
It's sort of like they're sponsoring.
Right. And maybe it does under certain circumstances, but then here comes my problem, because then not just the Games Workshop painting tutorials, but others will be like, and then you're going to highlight with these other 2 colors that also have names, and they're very standard, and these are the ones we're using.
Okay.
And I mean, call me some kind of caveman and do so in the comments. Give me your rebuttal on this entire thing.
Oh, I'll rebut you every day.
Everyone.
Big old butt.
All right? But let's say you go get Imperial Fist Yellow.
Okay.
And we surmise that's the yellow that the Imperial Fist shall be. Okay. Well, being that paint is not entirely opaque, what if I prime mine black and you prime yours white?
Yes, because it being a contrast paint or maybe even a thin paint,
whatever,
it comes out completely different.
It comes out completely different. What if I have, in the case of doing yellow, what if I've done light gray primer and a zenithal highlight?
Yeah.
Then the other two lighter yellows that are named in this, in the straw man of a painting tutorial that I'm making up, but I know you all have seen them because I've seen them. Well, my gradient is already baked in due to the priming. So this methodology of and then we're gonna do the whole thing in Imperial Fist Yellow until it's totally yellow, and then we're gonna go up one shade and we're gonna do some bits here. I don't think that that's actually teaching anybody a method, because the method that I'm saying, where you end up with this,
not a method.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's a recipe
for how they
without any of the rest of the cooking instructions.
There you go.
It's a shopping list. Casey, you've just hit a super duper metaphor.
You're welcome.
What those painting tutorials are shopping lists.
Bake some cookies
that don't have the mixing, the time, the measurements, anything. So, back to my call me a caveman
gripe.
To me, if I were going to paint a space marine, an ultramarine, which I've never done a blue space marine, but I've done plenty of black ones.
Well, I got to be a black space marine.
They're my friends.
So stupid. Okay, good. Continue.
But there's a little bit of when the whole entire thing is put together. A blue is a blue is a blue.
Right.
If I want to make a lighter blue, I'm going to need to do that in most cases on a as-needed basis relative to whatever else color that I've got, which is going to have to do with what color I intended to mix up, what color I started with, on whatever, pick your brand blue that you grabbed, and what my undercoating, priming, etc. is. The amount of water that I like to have on my brush. All of these things are going to affect what color blue ends up on the model at any given moment. And so it doesn't make any sense to run out and buy 5 blues and try to just put them paint by number style in the place that the videos say. And I feel that there are a whole lot of bad videos. I was just watching one recently.
Okay, explain.
I was painting the second Spider-Man for the homie Lane because I had painted my Spider-Man and I think he turned out fine. But I wanted another go at getting the lines in the red of his suit darker and the red being brighter. So a wash over the red wouldn't work. It ended up being a whole thing, but that's for another time. But anyway, where was I going with this?
I don't know where you were going with this.
I watched a video of someone painting one. And I'll be damned if it wasn't one of those where the guy just listed paints and said where he was going to put them.
Yeah.
And named another paint and said where he was going to put it.
Okay.
And at no point was he talking about how thin, how thick, how he's blending one to the next. It was just, here's a color, put it there. Yeah, here's another color, put it there again? Yeah. Question mark?
Like example, if you say put down Corax white. Now, and then it cuts to a model with Corax white on it. But it doesn't show you how runny Corax white is, how you can easily lose control, how usually when you thin paints, that's what you do. You thin a paint, but then when you thin a white, it's like all over the place. You lost complete control. So that's what your gripe is, kind of like, right? Because it doesn't talk about the science behind it, the method, the madness, the focus that us as painters really memorize and follow to really get the job done.
So the people that I watch on YouTube to learn this painting, they don't do any of the naming the color, hardly.
All right, who do you watch?
I'll give a list. I like Ninjon, Miniac. I like Eons of Battle. I like Squidmar.
Very good painters, yeah.
I like Vince Venturella a little bit, but he can be a bit dry. And also...
So is your mom.
Well, and he's also a level of excellent that is a bit beyond my comprehension.
Okay.
Yeah, well, he's won, so I don't know how many Golden Demons. Like, his base level of painting anything is
you win a
so
Golden
high.
Demon, you might as well have your own YouTube channel.
Yeah. I mean, he is excellent. But the majority of those other guys, and most all their videos, they don't do any, and then we're going to take this color and put it wherever. They're always showing some sort of methodology.
Ah, yes. Usually it's sped up, so you can really see.
Yeah, which that part I don't care about.
Like strokes.
Yeah, watching the strokes doesn't do anything for me. But the concept and the application of the concept is the part that I learn the most from. Right? So when somebody's doing a big dry brushing undercoat, slap choppy sort of idea, it's like that concept is its own thing, and it's a really good example of what I'm talking about, where the name of the paint on the bottle does not necessarily relate to what you end up with at the end. And then, that's before we get into this idea, too, that a lot of these painting tutorials will go, do all this base coating, then wash the entire model in X, which, of course, dulls the thing down. And then we got to get back up, preferably without it looking like a splotchy cartoon character. Unless, in my case,
a lot of that.
I do like to make some splotchy cartoon characters. But on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a big disservice being done by this Citadel-led standardization of paint colors and some tutorials trying to make it too easy. Because that's what they're doing. They're trying to say, once you get all the paints, you just paint by numbers and it'll work. And the reality is it won't work. It will not work like that. At some point, you're going to have to thin this down to make these colors blend, or you're going to have to know that this edge over here needs to be thin, but that over there in the middle part is going to need to be thick. You're going to need to figure out some brush control. You're going to need to figure out how to do different things. And a lot of these painting tutorials don't do that. They just list colors. And I think if those are the kind of painting tutorials that you're watching, you're wasting your time.
And then you've got people like Squidmar, and they say something like, I know I primed black, but I usually start with a very light gray or a dark gray to really make the metallics show up, instead of listing sort of, what a brand name would be, like Dawnstone or Celestia Gray, stuff like that. They go, let's start with a nice dark gray. Let's start with or maybe go to mid-tone gray. Let's go with the light gray. And then, you kind of see as they do the blending and the gradients and everything as they go through their process, rather than, what I'm assuming you've seen other people, I don't really know who to name off. I think YouTube Shorts are pretty bad about it from what you're describing.
No, YouTube Shorts are the worst.
Yeah, they're just here's a Space Marine, boom, brand of Nazdrag Yellow from Games Workshop in the corner, Nazdrag Yellow on the thing, doesn't show any process at all.
It doesn't. It's the
meat and potatoes, the basics.
Well, it's a shopping list.
Yeah,
it's a shopping list. It's not an actual lesson in anything. Because, if you want your guys to look, I'm looking over at what are those guys? The red guys.
My Blood Angels?
Yeah, I'm looking over at your Blood Angels, and they've got a little bit going on, which we've talked about them in painting pods before. But if you want your dudes to look red or blue or your salamanders to look green, then I guess you can just go grab whatever salamander green, ultramarine blue, whatever.
Because the painting videos do exist. Games Workshop posts those basic videos all the time.
But they're just, I mean, look.
They're basic.
They're trying to sell paint.
Fair.
They're not spending any time on how the heck that box art ends up with that non-metallic metal power sword and
Citadel
stuff.
Paint is like super expensive. That dude who left Games Workshop,
Duncan,
I think it's Duncan, Tooth and Coats.
Yeah,
he's selling Tooth and Coats. I think it's half the price of Citadel Paints, and it comes in a dropper bottle instead of a pot. So I've actually been thinking about switching because, man, those Citadel Paints, you get what you pay for, but boy, do they cost a lot. Man, do they cost a lot. And then, as a painter, you kind of have to step away from the labels, step away from the names of the paints that they give you, and start moving towards, I know this tone of red because I recognize it. And it goes into this other tone of red to make it look more detailed. And eventually, as you grow as a painter, that's where you go. If you care about painting, that's where you want to be, recognizing the color so that you can be better. And maybe one day win yourself a golden demon.
Well, when you're talking about gray earlier,
love gray.
Very often you'll hear good painters be like, and then we're gonna mix up like a bluish gray. That's usually the way. If you want to go gray, you go bluish gray. Like I have this one because in a moment I'm going to get to the other side of the coin on, I'm not here just to bang on Citadel Paints because they're fine, and I'll go into some positives of this
I feel like you're
this
talking
entire
more
concept.
About,
but like
it's commercialism without being paid. Somebody is kind of throwing Citadel out there like they're the Games Workshop YouTube channel putting videos out there, and it's doing some good, but it's stifling. Is that what I'm hearing?
No. I guess I'll get to it now.
Okay, get to it now.
It makes sense. Like, look, the reason why somebody would buy a bunch of Citadel paints is because they're available.
Fair.
At every friendly local game store you go into, they're going to have them. I think their names are silly, but I also see how the names of the paints relate to the other products that they sell.
I actually like the names. They're cute.
Well, and so there's like this there's this synchronicity between the paint and the thing you're painting, or the thing you may want to buy and paint. That they're creating this circle of nomenclature. While you're doing whatever, when you pick up your Retributor gold, and then it makes you want something in Retributor armor. Like there's a unit with that, and so you get this one thing subliminally leading you to another. But my point is more that good painters just
paint.
They just do blue, and then when they're like, we're going to paint in blue, that encompasses the entire spectrum of blue, all the way down to almost black and all the way up to almost white. You see? Which is a totally different thing than buying the 10, 8, however many different Citadel colors, or name your paint brand, because they all have way more colors than I think are worth having, to get all your blues. But then what I think is totally silly is, like, I just couldn't imagine sitting there saying, I'm going to do this blue, and I'm going to have shades from almost black to almost white.
Okay.
And I've got a literal dozen paint pots in front of me.
Ah, yeah.
Like, that does not seem like the way to go about it.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, Squidmar and a lot of them, they mix their paints with, white. Maybe they mix them with black, and they move up and they move down.
Yeah,
from
because
dark to light.
Right, because then you get the overall consistency of whatever paint it is that you like and use in whatever the mid-tone sort of, let's call it starting color.
Yeah.
And then you've got a white that you know how it works, and you've got a black and you know how it works. And usually you can mix those two things into whatever you want to change the shade.
Yeah.
Obviously there are some things, like if you put the black with some colors, it'll start to turn weird. But that's, again, understanding your paints and the black that you use versus others. That's another thing to get into.
It's a very very interesting take, I must say.
I'm just saying, there's so many things that are trying to boil this down to painting by numbers, and I think that if you're trying to paint that way,
you're not going to grow.
You're not going to get better.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're not going to get better, especially...
It's a good starting point. If you're somebody who wants to just get the job done, you're not a painter, that's not part of the hobby for you, go ahead. But you want people to grow.
Well, I mean, and my point, too, is, like, I guess you'll get better at just putting the color in the place that you want, right?
Yes.
But you're going to buy a whole lot of paints because of the shopping lists that you get from those types of tutorials.
Yep.
And then you're going to have all these paints, and you're going to pick something up and be like, well, there's no tutorial for this one. Which one of these paints do I start with?
Yep. And
then your skill on how you move any of those shades around.
Gas.
Yeah, it's like I take it when I would teach people music things, whether it be piano or guitar or whatever, and I always try to teach people their theory as soon as they're capable of, like, seeing the light in the tunnel, right? Because you start off and you just, let's say this is a straw man guitar student now. You start off and you give them, like, your 3 chords in the truth, and they start to play, and they maybe can switch them, right? And then I pretty well immediately start to try to teach them why those 3 chords tell the truth, okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's like, if I teach you one song, then you know one song. If I teach you how all the songs are made, then you can make any song, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, if your painting tutorial is only good for name your color Space Marine guy,
yeah,
but not for anything else,
then you're just going to have.
Then what happens if somebody? Yeah, what happens if you want to do a dragon for your D&D game?
Yep.
Where do you even start?
You got some paint you're only going to use for something very specific. Like I do a lot of one-offs. I buy a Necron, and then what am I going to do? Buy Necron compound? No, I'm going to find what I have, make it work, and see how I can do it. Now, as I'm saying all this, I do have like 20 plus Citadel paint pots behind me.
Okay, well that brings
me. So I'm a victim of the system, sir.
I mean, I don't know how much you're a victim of the system.
I've gotten better.
That flips us over to the positive side. So I'm gonna switch hats and play devil's advocate. I mean, there's something to.
Last 5 minutes of pod.
Yeah, last 5 minutes of the pod. I'll play devil's advocate. I'm not saying that you should only have, like, how many primary colors are there? 5 primary colors or something like that? Or I don't even know.
We're painters and we don't even know this.
I don't know. I don't keep up with that kind of thing. But, like, what I'm saying is I'm not telling everyone have 1 blue and 1 red and 1 green because you can make all the colors out of that.
Okay, what are you saying then?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, and I recognize that there's a convenience to walking over to the Citadel or the Army Painter shelf and saying, that one looks good. That shade of blue that's only 2 shades different from the blue that I've been having looks like a cool starting place for whatever I'm about to paint. And then you just buy that, and then you take that one, and that becomes your mid-tone, your starting point with your white and your black to mix and just go crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say, I hope we do the clickbaity title of Citadel paint names are dumb. But the actual thing that I'm saying here is paint by numbers tutorials are dumb. Because they don't teach you, they don't actually teach you how to do anything, in my opinion. And maybe some of you figured it out with just those kind of things, but I imagine a lot of you have gone and seeked out various methods of things that you wanted to do. Like take power swords, for instance.
Love power swords, man. All day, every day.
Wet blending power swords.
Hard.
If you don't know how.
Exactly.
Once you know how, it's like, man, I can
bust them out quick.
All of a sudden, you can wet blend power swords. You can wet blend smoke. You can wet blend fire.
Yep.
You can wet blend magic effects, right? And what happened? You didn't learn how to wet blend a power sword. You learned how to wet blend, period. which is a whole skill. That's
different than the paint by number stuff, because you're actually experimenting. You're actually like learning with your hands and then trying out different colors and seeing what you get, rather than paint by the numbers, where you're following somebody else's words, treating it as gospel, and then you're putting it down. And it's painting, but it's not necessarily creative. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like there's no problem solving and that kind of thing. And the problem solving, I think, is where the value and the fulfillment can be. You know, like, how am I going to get this thing to be lighter on the top and darker on the bottom? And I don't think that the answer, certainly the path of least resistance is not get 8 different shades of blue and block them from bottom to top, from darkest to lightest. I don't think that's the way.
Yeah, and I've been there. I've been early in my paint journey, been like, man, I got to paint something that's brown, but I don't have any browns. You can make brown, but also, like, then I've got to buy 5 browns to make a dark brown all the way up to the light brown, but instead of just buying one.
Man, you know what? Don't get me started on that. I watched I got outside of my
Comfort zone.
Trusted sources once, and found a guy painting leather, and he did the paint by numbers for weathered leather.
Yeah.
And just, man, kept on naming paints, kept on grabbing other paints. I'm like, man, this is ridiculous, because all you've done is had a dark brown, a lighter brown, a tan, and another tan.
Yeah. But people aren't going to hear that in their brain. They're going to hear the names of the colors, and they're going to go buy that stuff.
And that's the way he was doing it, too. And I was like, this is a lot of silliness for it. Because if there's any color that's easy to move one direction or another, it's some damn browns. They're brown. Like, at the end of the day, brown is going to be brown. It's not the most flashy, interesting thing in the world.
It's brown.
It's just brown and tan. Another one that is really easy to fudge whichever way, and no one will care. You know what I mean?
Fair.
So that's my take on bad painting tutorials and a little bit of annoyance. And I tell you where the annoyance comes from, because I did say this is what...
Let it be known that Shane is wagging his finger like an old man telling kids to get off his lawn right now.
Oh, I'm 1,000 years old and so angry with the clouds.
Oh, boy.
But the part that grinds my gears is a lot of times people will just be talking about how they painted a thing, and it may be a thing that looks really good, and they just start naming off these Games Workshop colors. And I'm like, if I'm looking at the thing, then I'll say, well, I guess that's a red, because the thing I'm holding is red. But if you told me sight unseen that I'm painting it in, I can't even think of any of the names, but I'm just like, unless it says gray or green or something at the end of it, which sometimes it does. But I mean, I don't know. They've got some they call yellows that are obviously greens to my eye. So that annoys me.
Is that it?
I think that's it. I think that while I see why they do it, because they're trying to create synergies with the rest of their products, i.e. models, I get it. However, sometimes I'm just like, and then I took some light green and went around the tops of the knees of this salamander.
Oh, boy.
For an edge highlight.
Well, that is Shane's take on the Citadel Paint and Paint by the Numbers videos. What do you want to call it, Shane?
I think that the clickbait is worth it, because
go after Citadel. Come at us. Send us some free stuff and to prove us wrong, Citadel. Let's go.
Though we love all of our listeners and our viewers on YouTube and all of our commenters and fans that grow each week, we are trying to get famous. So a little bit of viral hate would be helpful.
Yeah, tell us how wrong Shane is. Give us your takes. Give us your opinions. Like, let us know what you think and feel, and we'll probably respond to you. But
we have nothing better to do.
Yeah, we're bored. But that's it. I've been Casey, the lore master. He's Shane, the game master. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
I've been losing a lot.
And we'll see you out there in the grim darkness, guys.
See you.
Peace.